everybody, welcome into Parent Squad. I'm Felicia Lawrence, your host, and it is that time of year, the chaos of back to school. So parents, we know that you're busy getting supplies, you're trying to get the sleep schedules back in check, but we've got one thing that you may not have thought about. A lot happened at the State House in the last session that impacts your child's education. So what do you need to know? Well, Chalk Beat's Alex Appleton is here to break it all down. And first up is something that impacts every student. We're talking about attendance. And we know that there is a viral post going around about what this law means for how absences are counted. So let's separate some fact from fiction here. So what are some of the concerns that's on social media about this post?
There were some concerns on social media that from now on your kids' illnesses and doctor's appointments were going to be counted as unexcused absences. And that's just not true.
Okay, so if they're gonna count it differently, which you're saying is not true, what would be the difference between excused and unexcused absences?
Right.
How would they know?
Yeah, your excused absence is usually an illness, a doctor's appointment, things like that. But all of that is decided locally, and that's a really big, important point. Your unexcused absence is anything like your child overslept, missed the bus, your car had a flat tire on the way to school, or anything that you don't tell the school about. But again, all of that is decided locally by your local school district.
So it's kind of up to the discretion of local leadership,
right,
which can also get a little gray. So what did this year's attendance law do, actually?
This year's attendance law is only a reporting law. It basically just asks schools to sort those excused absences into more categories in order for the state and the Department of Education to get a better idea of why kids have been absent from school. We had a similar law last year that did make some changes in ways that would affect parents, but those primarily affected unexcused absences, and that's if your child has 5 unexcused absences in 10 weeks, your school's required to start meeting with you, start offering resources to help you get to school. But again, those are unexcused absences. We know that some schools do send letters for excused absences, but that's decided at the local level. That's not something the state is tracking or particularly concerned about.
And I know there are probably a lot of parents, they work hard, they're trying to get their kid to school and doing certainly the best that they can. Just so you know, there has been an issue with chronic absenteeism since the pandemic. And so districts have been working to kind of crack down on it and get a handle of where kids are, why they're not in school. So it is an issue, even if you don't see it an issue for you specifically. It has
Nobody likes getting the attendance letters, but if districts are worried about it, they want you to be paying attention so a parent realizes, oh wow, these absences are really stacking up.
Make sure they're not stacking up. Okay, so another big topic is bullying. That's always been a big topic, and there's actually a new law that deals with reporting. So let us talk about that, because that's always kind of been a touchy topic with schools and children.
Yeah, unfortunately we know that bullying incidents have been on the rise. Part of that is because we have more reporting requirements from 2023 to 2024, but we can see that bullying incidents were going up even before that new reporting law. So what the law does this year is that it shortens the time that a school has to report to parents that their child was involved in a bullying incident, either as a perpetrator or a victim. They need to report that to you by the end of the next day that they become aware of the incident. And they also need to report the results of the investigation that they need to do to you by the end of the next business day after the investigation.
And that's considered a state law.
That is a state law
for all districts, so that I guess the incident just doesn't carry on and on and on. So
right. The previous law was 5 days, so they've shortened that timeline.
Yeah, I can see where the issue comes into play. That bullying can be subjective.
Yes.
And especially when you have older adults who may come from the generation of toughen up, get thicker skin. But this is at least fostering a conversation between parents, students, school caretakers, teachers, people at administration at the school. So what kinds of bullying do parents need to watch out for?
Right. It's funny you say that, because it's actually physical and verbal bullying that is growing. The things we think of as modern day bullying, internet bullying, that actually declined a little bit, but we can see physical and verbal are going up.
And you mentioned internet bullying. I think that's also something that older generations Americans, adults don't realize how prevalent it is and how much it really can impact a child. Because you think, oh, that's just something that somebody wrote about me online, where our children take these things very seriously.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Another hot button topic that came up in this last legislative session is sex ed. So there are some changes here with sex ed.
Sure. The two big changes. The first is that a sex ed class has to teach the importance of consent in a sexual relationship. The second is that every sex ed class now has to show a video of fetal development as part of the course.
Okay, now does this new law require that students take sex ed?
No, absolutely not. The only requirement in Indiana law is that students receive instruction on HIV and AIDS. If you're going to get a sex ed class, if your child is going to take sex ed, you're going to get this consent form. And that consent form has been part of state law for a while, basically saying, we're teaching this course, please sign for permission. Because of the new state law this year, it's also going to have information about who the teacher is. Are they male or female? Are boys and girls being taught together or separately? And it's also going to have a summary of what the students are going to learn. You can also find your school sex ed curriculum online as a result of this new law.
Okay, so it sounds like the need for consent did not change.
No.
It's just the curriculum of what is taught within sex ed is what has been manipulated.
Some new requirements, some requirements there. And again, not every school in Indiana is even going to have this. But so if your child is going to experience this, you're going to get that form first.
And do you know what age or what grade that starts off at?
Usually the earliest it would start, the absolute earliest, is 4th grade, and it's not quite sex ed. It's more body boundaries, being a good friend, eventually
some biology,
maybe a little bit of biology, a little bit of like, you know, your body's going to go through changes, kind of the things that we would remember from high school from around then.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, DEI. We know Indiana is one of the states kind of doing away with the policies. So first, let's talk about what DEI did in schools and then what it means now that it's going away. A lot of people might have difficulty trying to frame DEI when we're talking about our children.
Sure. Yeah, this is a tricky one because what we think of as DEI meant different things to different school districts. You had a program that you put in place that had inclusive practices, or you applied for a grant that gave your teachers professional development and things like equity and diversity. So what you may notice as a parent is that a person or a program that was there last year is not there anymore. We passed a state law that basically says teachers can't be compelled to affirm certain ideas related to race, and they can't have their students compel their students to affirm those ideas either. But we also know that's not the only change. There have been federal cuts to grants that prioritize DEI. So we're going to see probably a landscape of different changes depending on what a school had to begin with.
Okay. Obviously, a lot of important topics, some of them controversial to some depending on where you sit on the issue, but certainly our job here is to give the information to help you navigate some of the changes so that you can be informed and a part of the conversation at your child's school. An engaged parent is always a good idea.
Absolutely.
Alex Appleton, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all of this information, of course, next week we are going to dive into the iLearn and iRead scores, and we'll tell you what those mean for your kids. So we will continue this conversation with Alex. Thank you so much. All right, we'll be right back. And welcome back to Parent Squad. So today we are tackling the topic of sleep. And we know getting kids to bed can be a challenge really at any age. So here to help us sort all of this out is Dr. Lucas Huffman, a family medicine physician with Franciscan Health. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is an important topic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have a 16-month-old. Luckily, he actually sleeps pretty well from an early age. We did start putting him in the crib and having that separation, I think, is what helped us. But there is an occasional issue, so don't want to make it sound like the situation is just absolutely perfect. But I have friends that say their babies never sleep through the night. Is this something that you hear a lot about?
Always, all the time. You get the babies that don't sleep at all and sleep during the day, or the ones that sleep perfectly throughout the night, and then we don't mess with those ones.
Right? Okay, so let's talk about the ideal amount of sleep. Obviously, it's going to look different for different age ranges. Maybe, I don't know if you want to start with a baby or a toddler age and then work your way up.
Yeah, so for toddlers, you want quite a bit of sleep. Actually, you're looking at probably more than 10 hours or so. Sometimes that's not all in one session, as you may have found out. It's throughout the day. But getting older into the school-age kids, preschoolers, you typically want around 10 to 13 hours of sleep. School age 6 to 12 years old, you want about 9 to 12 hours of sleep. And then the teenagers, we want 8 to 10 hours of sleep, but that can oftentimes be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was still wanting more sleep. I needed the 9 to 12. Yeah. Is that something that is different, like it will fluctuate by person?
It can fluctuate by person. Yeah, everyone's circadian rhythm can be somewhat different. Some people, it's a rare percentage of the population, but we can get away with 4 or 5 hours of sleep and be completely rested in the day.
Yeah, those people are so weird. I would like to know what their secret is.
Yes, I would definitely start at the 8 to 10 hours before we go to the 4 to 5.
Yeah, you got to work your way. Okay, so what is your best advice for creating a good bedtime routine then?
Yeah, a bedtime routine, consistency is key. So for our younger kids, maybe think bath, book, bedtime. For the older kids, try to get a screen-free, calming, quiet environment, trying to keep the sleep-wake cycles consistent throughout the week, and try to avoid stimulation about an hour before bed. That can help stimulate melatonin release and sleep onset.
I know they talk about that for adults too. Everyone making sure they put the screens away. So melatonin is a common sleep aid, and what are your thoughts about using it for kids?
Melatonin is very commonly used, sometimes too much, but my recommendation is that if we do want to start melatonin, oftentimes the studies show that very small doses, 0.5 milligrams or 1 milligram, about 30 to 60 minutes can be beneficial. But if we increase that to higher doses, sometimes that doesn't help sleep too much, but it'll increase side effects like morning grogginess and headaches. And as always, it's important for parents to talk to their child's providers prior to starting melatonin, even though it is over the counter.
I was going to say, do they do higher doses with a prescription, or is that not a thing?
Yes, sometimes higher doses are used, 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams, can go up to 10 or even higher. But the studies show that maybe the smaller doses can help, and then your kid doesn't feel so tired in the morning.
Okay. And then what about... I think about the parents who use Benadryl. Yeah. We got to talk about it, okay? We got to talk about it because I know some people are.
Yeah, so Benadryl is excellent at getting you to sleep, but the actual rest that you're getting while sleeping isn't the same as if you would not use Benadryl. So you go to sleep faster, but your actual restful sleep isn't going to be as good. So oftentimes you still wake up feeling groggy and tired and wondering how you slept 8 hours because it doesn't feel like it.
Okay, and it's actual medicine, so let's be responsible here. So there are actually a lot of things that can make bedtime a struggle. Let's actually start with the kids who just don't want to go to bed. I am starting to see a little bit of that in my 16-month-old. I think he thinks we're up playing without him.
Very, very
And he's
common.
trying to just stretch the night out, stretch out the bedtime routine.
Yes, very common. Bedtime resistance is very common. Every parent will likely experience it at some point. But using some behavioral strategies such as positive reinforcement, letting them know they did good when they do go to bed at the appropriate time, bedtime fading, just kind of putting them to bed sooner and sooner can be very effective, and creating a comforting, calming environment, an inviting environment, dark, cool, quiet, can be helpful sometimes. And today we eat a little bit too much sugar sometimes. So avoiding sugar about an hour before bed can actually help decrease the melatonin suppression and increase sleep onset as well.
Oh, okay. I actually had candy before bed last night. That was an odd night. Okay. Specifically though, for the children, do you see? I guess what would be your advice for Well, okay, let's back up. I have friends who have newborns, okay? And they are just trying to get them to sleep. They're trying to figure it out. I mean, can you provide some tips that way?
Yeah, that can be very challenging because if you're a newborn in the womb, they don't know if it's morning or daytime. They just sleep whenever. So when the baby comes out, they also don't know if it's morning or night. Sometimes the crying is what brings parents into the bedroom to think that the baby is not sleeping. So oftentimes what I will tell parents is you lay your baby down, let them sleep for a little bit. If you hear crying, offer feed, breast milk, formula, whatever it may be. And then it's okay to leave the room as long as it's a safe environment and let them cry a bit before going back to sleep.
Okay, here I am at the toddler stage now. If we're working our way up the toddler stage, he is wanting to just continue whatever the night is, whether it's playing or even if it is with the book. After we read the book, then he wants to get up and play. And it's like, how can you explain, or is it just kind of being firm with that structure that you have?
Yeah, I think it's being firm with the structure and creating the routine. So letting him know that each night when the book is done, we leave the room, we tuck him in, and then we leave. Maybe turn a night light on, a comfort object like a stuffed animal, a blanket, a pillow can be useful sometimes. But that's a challenging one, trying to keep the structure the same.
Okay, this has a huge question mark for myself. What about the kids that don't want to stay in bed? Right now, he is in the crib, 16 months old, but I'm concerned about what is going to happen and how we're going to navigate him getting out. What's your advice with that?
Yeah, so another common thing, but it's important that you gently and consistently return them back to their bed. This is where night lights can be very helpful to reduce some of that fear of being alone in the room. The comfort objects, the stuffed animal that they have a name for, the blanket that's falling apart but it helps them sleep is very important. If we consistently let them sleep with us in our bed, it can increase their dependency on that, and oftentimes it can affect our sleep as the parent. We're waking up tired and groggy as well.
Yeah. Okay. So my concern is also him going to be getting out of bed and maybe like falling down the stairs or something like that. Do parents, and I'm a first-time mom, so I don't know, do they lock them in the room? Is that something that is encouraged by providers, or how do you handle that?
So that's different among all of the providers, but oftentimes people will have the lock on the outside of the room because they know the inside of the room is fairly safe. You've went through and made it all kid safe, so a lock outside the room can be okay. But if the lock is inside the room, making it challenging for you to get in if you would need to, if they're crying, choking, you hear a fall would be somewhat dangerous.
Okay, to keep that in mind. Okay. That was an important question for me because I'm like, how do I navigate this? Okay, so let's talk tweens and teens. They are often on their own schedules by that age, but how can you actually encourage a good bedtime for them as well?
Interestingly, adolescents actually have a circadian phase delay, so they naturally want to stay up longer. It's part of normal physiology.
Really?
But it's important to remember they still need their 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So how we do that is some of the things we've already discussed, trying to keep the sleep-wake cycles consistent, even on the weekends, although challenging.
Yes.
And dim the lighting. And the one thing that parents will think I'm crazy or nearly impossible is sleeping without the phone in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Studies show that that's going to be better for their sleep and their sleep quality.
That, I mean, obviously I'm not there yet with a teenager. That I feel like we can master because that's just a firm boundary that you have to kind of bite down on. Yeah. I'm thinking more so in my house right now, the televisions in all the bedrooms.
Yeah.
Like maybe I have to be that parent to remove the TVs.
Yeah, I can say I haven't quite got there myself yet.
I know, because we're all watching our shows and stuff.
Yes, oftentimes as the parents are calming down, the kids asleep, you're watching your show.
Yeah.
But the TVs in the bedrooms, they're not supposed to be there, but that's often challenging, especially if we're removing the phones as well.
Yeah, okay. But if you're starting off on the good foot,
yes.
maybe, I'm still early, maybe I can't screw this up. Okay, so we also know the kids' schedules get crazy. I mean, they have homework and sports practices and all these activities and just being a kid time. Some kids have busier lives than the adults, but let's talk over scheduling. How much is too much?
Yes, so very common in the society today.
Yes.
If your kid has no downtime, constantly anxious, overwhelmed, it's likely too much. We now know that unstructured time in children is going to promote creativity, social emotional well-being, help school performance, and it's oftentimes a sign of them being overwhelmed or doing too much is the increased irritability. They're actually telling people that they're too busy, or a frequent one is dropping grades.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe you hear your kids over talking, you overhear them talking and they're saying, oh, I can't do that. I got to do this.
Yes.
I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do this.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like what's tough these days is you're also following herd mentality. And so you're talking to other people that might be doing a bunch of things. So you feel compelled, like your child has to compete and catch up. I feel like that could potentially be an issue. with that? I mean, that's a kind of a tough one to put a boundary there.
Yeah, I mean, even as adults, the parents, everything is structured nowadays.
Yeah.
We have a schedule that we have to stick to. We have to go to church. We have to come back, see the family, cook.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have kids not feel that. Let them go outside and play, have some unstructured time, and let them kind of develop on their own.
And so how can that actually, the packed schedules impact children's sleep?
Yeah, we have late practices, which means that they come home and look at the screens late to do homework. They have stress all day. That's going to delay their sleep onset. And studies have shown that the National Sleep Foundation says that kids that have poor sleep quality has actually been linked to obesity, depression, and attention problems.
Okay. Okay. I'm thinking about some of the parents in history that have really devoted a lot of time to like a sport. I'm thinking Serena Williams' family, or I wanted to say, dare I say the Michael Jackson family. I'm bringing those up as examples because I think people think, okay, if we're going to be serious about this and you like it and we're going to go far in it, we have to do this like a job and then some. Like, how do you find the balance? You want to push your children, but also you want it to be healthy too.
Yeah, that's a very good question. But it's important for parents to know as well that we now know that sleep boosts executive function, cognitive performance, which is critical for not only their academic performance, but their athletic performance and the extracurricular activities.
Okay.
So truthfully, if they get a little bit more sleep, they may actually excel or be a little bit better in those sports or activities.
That makes sense. And then I also hear you saying, okay, some common sense needs to tap in for parents too. Pay attention, wake up, pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about when it starts to take a toll on things like homework?
Yes.
That would be another sign, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Taking toll on homework is, if you feel like practices are getting late and homework is getting pushed back later and later, it's going to affect their sleep. At that time, it would be my recommendation to kind of just look at the overall schedule. Is there something in here that we can change or fix? Because we now know sleep is going to be super beneficial to their academic performance, their homework time. Yeah. And we know sleep-deprived kids just work less effectively, just like we do as adults.
Okay, he's saying it's all connected, people. It is all connected. Is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. Sleep is very, very important.
Yes, for children as well as for adults. So keep that in mind. Thank you, Dr. Huffman.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, he is a family medicine doctor with Franciscan Health. If you live in the area, you can certainly go see him. You can find more info on our website. And still ahead, we are talking the Parent Playbook with City Moms. They're going to join us with tips to set up a home command center. Welcome back to Parent Squad. And now that back to school season is in full swing, well, here's the question. How are things going at your house? Are you having organized chaos or maybe just chaos? Either way, setting up a family command center could help bring some order and peace to your home. Janine Bobbin-Moyer, Chief Mom Officer at the City Moms, is here to help us make that happen. She just always has the best tips and easy, palpable things that we can do. Not like the super Pinterest mom thing, expert things. You do have some of that stuff.
We do.
But usually when you come to us, you bring easy things that we can break it up and chew. So let's start with the basics. How do we actually set up a family command center or a family command zone? And what is it really?
Yeah, I mean, and this is so critical, I think, for everyone to hear, is that you're right. It doesn't have to be that super Pinterest worthy kind of look. It's really just 5 key things that you want to be focused on when you're building that command center at home for back to school.
Okay.
And if they don't work, I want to emphasize that is okay, because you need to find what works for your family. But
I love that. She's saying experiment. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
And if you have to change or pivot or go back to how you were doing it,
yeah,
do that.
Yes, absolutely. So here are the 5 kind of steps, or the 5 tenets for a command center. The first one's going to be a centralized calendar. And we definitely recognize we are all in this digital age now. So if it's not a wall calendar that you have out, that's okay. A family digital calendar. I know my family uses Google Calendars to kind of sync everything that we're doing. But you want to make sure that it's a calendar everyone has access to. And then the big tip here is color code your calendar by family member. So it makes it really easy visually for you to be able to see who has what on which days, who needs to be in what place on what days, but it really gets kind of home for you with that calendar.
So kids are on the calendar, parents are on the calendar
Yes,
too?
exactly.
Okay, I guess
Yep.
it makes sense that it would be synced.
Yes, absolutely. So that have a centralized calendar. Our second one is you want to create some kind of inboxing system at home as well. And I know inbox is often used for email, but we're really thinking about a physical inbox that
Yeah,
you
what
can
do you
have.
mean?
So you're going to have that out and think of like a paper tray or a wall file, even a big basket. This is going to be a collection point at home for all of those school forms and permission slips that kids are bringing home as well. Those papers that you just don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So that's what we mean by inbox system. That's going to be one of those steps too. A supply station is really helpful because obviously as the kids are getting their homework started, or maybe you need something to sign those forms, having all of those in one space at your command center is really going to be helpful. So pencils, pens, things like tape, envelopes. You'll thank yourself every time.
So when they go, they lose their pen or pencil. You're
Yes.
saying there's a centralized place
Correct.
for them to find a
Exactly.
replacement.
Yep,
Okay.
at home. Also, we love having a family checklist in this area too. So this is that spot that you're like, okay, Felicia, did you grab your lunchbox before you left today?
course she
like,
didn't.
Click right, check that right off. I know for my son, it's usually lunchbox. It's usually things like his cleats, that
Okay.
he's forgetting. So
Yeah.
just a great visual before you're heading out the door or when you're coming home of what you need to pack or unpack. And then last, just kind of using that area as your communication zone. So maybe if there is a last minute reminder, throw up a sticky note in there.
Husband, doctor's appointment,
Right?
pick up the kids today.
Yes, exactly. If you don't want to do something that's, kind of physical, again, this is great for like a shared Google Doc for each other, for your family too, to kind of mention in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've also been talking routines in this episode. Earlier, we chatted with the doctor about the importance of sleep schedules. And so you have some other tips to kind of help
do.
establish that.
Yes, so let's talk about routines. I mean, these are the things that you want to kind of lock in early in the school year
Okay.
so that you've got a set kind of system going. So first is a simplified evening routine. And for us, that means we are packing lunches the night before. Any forms are being signed the night before and setting clothes out. That really helps simplify your morning. And you'll kind of even shave maybe 15 minutes off every morning as well if you're doing that prep the night before.
Yeah. Did you ever do, I'm like really vying to do this, especially with a younger kid, roll up the clothes and put it in the shoe in shoe
love that
containers?
idea.
Have you seen that?
No.
Or heard about it? So like over the door shoe hanger that you would
Oh,
hang
sure.
over your door,
Yeah.
and each container or pod or shelf,
Yeah.
maybe it's a hanging shelf,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday,
do
5
that,
days,
yes.
and to put the clothes in there. I think it's harder to do with older kids, but
Yep.
I am waiting to implement that.
I love it.
When my little boy goes to school.
That's perfect. Well, and that'll be perfect for your evening prep.
Yeah.
And then the other item that we always mention for family routine or these routines is have a weekly family meeting. It's a great time for everyone together, 10 minutes, just kind of digesting the schedule that you've got for that week ahead. Good time for you also just to be talking about things like, oh, I forgot, I need to be prepping this, I need to get a book for this class that I've got coming up. But good time to kind of just everyone check in and have those moments together.
Yeah, I feel like you are like a mom coach. Like, I feel like you're coaching all the moms and the parents out
Oh,
there
good.
how to like structure their family. So we have all been there. You kind of start off strong, but what happens when routines fall apart? Maybe you're halfway through the school year. Maybe
Yeah.
it's already September, October, and you're like just clawing along.
Yes. I mean, it's always good to reassess what's working and what's not. Again, we said, these are some tips, but if they're not working for your family, that's okay. Then let's find what does work for you. So we normally recommend reassessing on a monthly basis and then really do a heavy check-in if you're in a school year in that winter break time period. So if it's not working for you, that's okay. Maybe that command center is a paper pile now, or you're like, oh, I just throw all of my mail there. So
Yes.
a few things you want to be thinking about at that system kind of check-in, audit what's not working, re-engage your kids. I think there's always a great opportunity to get your kids engaged with the system.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a
Ask them.
Exactly.
Especially, of course, when they're old enough. But
Yes.
is this working? Do you have a better idea? Because maybe they're
Yes.
more creative or thinking of things differently. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
and
to cut
when
you off.
no, and when kids have ownership, you're right. When they have ownership over it, then they really want to dig in kind of to that
Yeah.
system, or
Maybe they'll actually do it because
yes.
they helped come up with the idea. So maybe they'll actually implement the rules of the idea.
Exactly. Well, and don't be afraid to make an upgrade. So if something's not working at that time, this is the perfect time to make it work for you.
One thing I also know with multiples, they kind of end up policing themselves. So sometimes it's not just the mom that's saying stuff. They're like, no, you have to do it this way because mom said so, or, because we decided this. That's the rule.
Yeah, well, for us, that's my youngest, actually. She's really good at making sure that her older brother is on track. So
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Sister
yeah.
taking care of brother.
Yes.
Did we hit all the points, Janine?
we did.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Hopefully those are helpful for everyone.
Oh, it's wonderful. Okay, so we have much more on the City Moms online at WTHR.com. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Parent Squad. And we want to thank this week's contributors, Chalkbeat, Franciscan Health, and the City Moms. And let's keep the conversation going. We, of course, want to share your success stories because they just might help someone else. So if you have a good parenting story to share, tell us about it. You can just text SQUAD to 317-655-5740 and we'll send you details. Or you can email us at parentsquad@WTHR.com and we might just share your story on the show. Now, before we go, we want to leave you with a word of inspiration to kind of help you navigate it all. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And that's from English writer Alan Alexander Milne. You may not know that name, but you probably know he actually wrote Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. So stay uplifted, parents. We will see you next time.